In this video, we're going to show you how to remove and replace a rear leaf spring, rear shackle and bracket on a Ford F-150. Remove the tire. So you're going to want to lower the vehicle so that the tire just touches the ground. On this side, I'm going to have the tire off so that I can get to the shackle bolts easy, and I'm going to use a jack stand. So you want the pressure off the leaf spring so you can remove the shackle U-bolts. Like I said, you want the tire to hit the ground, take the pressure off the leaf springs. I'm going to line up my jack stand right now. So with a 21mm socket, I'm going to remove the nut on each one of these shackle U-bolts. I pre-sprayed them. So now I'm going to remove the shackle from the front forward bracket, 19mm socket in the back holding the bolt steady, and 21mm socket on the gun. So I put a floor jack here on this end of the spring so I have some support in case that spring decides to give a little pop action. Now I can lower this. Well, the jack's not really doing anything. So the rear shackle on ours is broken, so we're not going to unbolt it, but obviously if yours is not broken, unbolt the rear shackle to pull the spring out. So now I'm going to raise the vehicle, take that pressure off, and pull that leaf spring right out so I can do the brackets. 16mm socket for the front here, the head of the bolt, and the nut is an 18mm wrench. And it's kind of difficult to get on there because the gas tank is in the way, but you can make it work. The open end on the nut for a little bit. Okay, now we got 3 more. So what I'm doing is I'm putting the wrench on the frame this way so that I can actually lock it in. You don't have to hold your hand back there. So to get to these top bolts was kind of difficult because the gas tank is right here, the rear gas tank. If you don't have one, then obviously it's so much easier. But if you do have the rear gas tank, ours is getting ready to be removed, but this gas tank strap is broken. So that's going to be replaced, but that's another video. So all I did was take a pry bar and I just grabbed the tank and I kind of slid it. Now if yours isn't rotted, all you have to do is loosen up your straps, but don't take the gas tank all the way down. And you can push that over so that you can get a wrench up there. I'm going to put the box, the open end, not the box end, up on the other side, right on that nut. Once I feel like it's locked. And get my air gun. on. So before I put the new bracket on, that had been replaced, someone else did it. And I'm going to reverse what they did because they had the bolts going through with the nuts on the back. Well, that's great if your gas tank's down, easy to do, but with it up, it's going to be hard to start this nut on that bolt. So I'm going to put my hand through the access little port they have here, and I'm going to pop that bolt right through. There we go. Let's get the bottom one. Look at that. Nice. I'm going to start each. These nuts look like they've been crushed, but those are self-locking nuts. I'll show you a close-up in a second. Sometimes they're difficult to start. So if you look at that real close, see how it looks like it's oblong? Because it is. And that's to lock it in place once it's tight. Now the torque spec for this is 57 to 76. I'm going to max it out because I think that's the best thing to do for safety. So the head of the bolt is a 17 millimeter. So now I can put my wrench in there. And the nut is a 15 millimeter. Just bottom it out, and then I'll move on to the next. This is where you're going to have to use the open end. I'm going to be smart at this point because my wrench is on there and locked on. I'm going to get my torque wrench and torque that one. So with a 21mm socket, 21mm wrench, let's see if we can get this bracket that's broken bushing bolt out. Okay, let's heat her up. So now I have a bushing puller in the end of the leaf spring, and I'm pulling that old bushing out, and I'm going to do the same to both sides. All right, so now that we've pushed that bushing out, I got some sandpaper here, and I'm going to clean up that housing on this leaf spring. If there's any burrs in there, steel burrs, you're going to want to take a cold chisel. Just give it a couple of nicks and chisel that out because you don't want it to interrupt with the steel bushing that's going to get pressed in. So now we're going to take the shackle from the kit. The bracket's already installed in the truck. So this is the bushing part that goes in there. I'm going to take the nut and the bolt out. Set this shackle aside and the bolt and the nut. And we're going to press this in to there, right there. So I'm going to take some lubricant and just give it a good spray. Get that steel all happy. Okay, and I'm going to try, might have to get it from the other side. Yeah, this side looks a lot nicer. I'm going to lay this leaf spring down like that. And I'm going to give it a little tap, see if I can get it started. And then I'm going to get my ball joint press. I'm going to press this in. Okay, get that all centered. Now that my leaf spring's on the table, I'm actually just going to put this bracket on to preset it up. I'm not going to really tighten it, but so much easier to do without trying to hold that leaf spring at the same time. And I'll take this bolt out because that's going to go into the actual shackle bracket. So now you got to muscle this up. And I got to put the leaf spring right in on the differential seat and then put the U-bolt bracket over. So let's go for it. So I have to lift up the rear part of the leaf spring to get it to go into the shackle. So I'm going to put it on the, I think it's going to be more, there we go. Now I'm going to get the bolt, see if I can line that in. Perfect. Let's get the nut and put it on the back and start it. Now I'm going to center the leaf spring on the differential. You have a little nub here and the nub's on the other side. You're going to center that into that plate. Okay, differential moved a little bit. No big deal. So I've got to push it back this way. There we go. Now I'm going to take my U-bolt bracket, center that, make sure that U-bolt's there. Now, normally I would say you really want to replace your U-bolts because they stretch but I usually only do that when I do a new leaf pack. Being the old leaf pack, I'm not going to do that. But if you're replacing the leaf pack at the same time, I strongly recommend getting new U-bolts and nuts because they do stretch, they go under a lot of pressure. All right, so now I'm just going to try to line this up with the rear shackle. So lift it up a little bit, pull that back, get that bolt started. Okay, I'm going to move it just a hair. Which way? There we go. We'll put the nut on. Now once those U-bolts are tightened, I can actually lower this down a little bit, take some of that spring pressure off. And don't forget that even though you tighten this, that steel shank in that bushing should allow it to pivot some. I'm going to spray these, give it a little. .21mm socket. That's the one that never moved. So, like I said, the head of the bolt is a 19mm socket and the nut is a 21. I'm going to get a deep socket because it sits far in there. And I have a breaker bar, half-inch breaker bar, holding that on. We are going to torque these, but I'm going to snug it up. Hear that sound? That's a dead stop. I'm going to leave that on. I'm going to go get my torque wrench, torque this. So the head of the bolt is an 18mm socket. The torque for the Shackle bolt to leaf spring is 83 to 113 foot-pounds. We're going to do right to 113. So I lowered the truck completely down on the jack stand, so there's no more weight on this leaf spring. So that shackle is going to sit right where it's on the ground. 21mm wrench on the back here and 18mm socket on the bolt head. Torque is 83 to 113 foot-pounds. So I'm going to snug it up and then I'm going to bottom it out at 113 foot-pounds. Let's do the top. Beautiful. So now that the leaf spring's all in, front and back, all shackles are tight, make sure that you check in 100 miles, 200 at the most, and come back and retighten these U-bolts. They're going to loosen up a little bit and shift with the differential, so snug them up again at 100 to 200 miles. Go in a crisscross pattern. Now we can lower it and torque it. Wheel torque is 100 foot-pounds. We're going to do the crisscross just like installing it. One last time. When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.